So now to the nitty gritty of it all, right? You've done the work, you've edited, you've sent your stuff out for people to read, they've given your criticism, you've come back, you've done these beautiful illustrations, you've spent your money. Now, what do? Especially in Nigeria, you realize that, wait, I have to sell these books. Like, how am I going to do this? So I'm here to kind of guide you in what I learned in my journey of getting my books into the stores. So, as I said, you've had your book journey. Well, once you've got this book in hand, or even before you had the book in hand, you might have got a publisher. Sorry, hold on, the noise is so bad. Okay, it's going to end in a minute. Let's continue. You might have got your publisher. So your publisher would take a lot of that headache off you in terms of distribution and getting your books out there. But most of us on this journey are self-published, including myself. So what do, right? You might not have been in this space like me. I had no clue about this space and literally just learned by doing this. So I'm going to mostly focus on being self-published and distributing your books in bookstores as a self-published author. So you got to think about where you are. Number one, that's really going to affect your the way you distribute and where you distribute, right? Location, location, location. Where you are matters, and taking advantage of where you are matters. So first of all, not to be overwhelmed, I would say local first, then national, then international. Unless you're like, do everything. It's better to kind of stagger it so you don't go overwhelmed. And also it gives you time to learn the process. So start local, start in your area, and then work your way out. Now, the first step of doing that is that you need to even identify places that sells books, right? It's not just bookstores. Yes, bookstores are the obvious ones, but there's other outlets that sell books and sell children's books, right? So think about where you shop. You go to the grocery store. Some grocery stores sell children's books. You go to toy shops. Some toy shops sell books. You go to filling stations. Some filling stations sell books and children's books. So now you have to kind of look at the world, or your world which you exist in a different way, and start paying attention wherever you're going to who is selling children's books, right? And that's easy to start with where you shop, right? Or where you go out. So you just make a point in your mind, let me start paying attention. Let me start going on. When I'm going to the market, when I'm going to the grocery store, when I'm picking my kids, when we're going here, when we're going there, and make note of those places. Secondly, I would say ask generally your friends, family, where do they buy books from? Make a note of that. And of course, there's always Google. So if you're in Lagos, you will look maybe bookstores on the mainland, or bookstores in Victoria Island, or bookstores in Lagos, and start making a note of those. And if you want to be looking other states, you do the same for other states. If you're looking national, you say bookstores or best bookstores in Nigeria, whatever your Google search term will be, or whichever search engine you may use. Use the internet to help you find these locations. Of course, there's social media. So you can also search on Facebook, Instagram, and put those searches in and look who comes up and see their activity. And the good things with the social media is hopefully the people have shared some of their activities. The bookstores have shared some of their activities. So you can even start to see the kind of outlet they are, specific to maybe what you prefer. Right? Trying a list. You're not really assessing whether you like that outlet or not. You're just creating a list. So when you've searched, you created your list, you've asked everybody, then it's time for me, where in my local, I did the physical recon. I went, I checked them out because I wanted to understand the environment. You know, a bookstore environment is going to be different to like an environment like ShopRite or Ebano. So you want to kind of understand the format and then it makes it easier for you to understand how you're going to approach them. So if you can, obviously it's hard to do recon in outlets when you're looking national. If for example, I'm based in Lagos, I haven't gone to do the recon in Abuja or Akwa Ibom, but you know, that's okay. I've done it in Lagos. So yes, you're limited, but if you just search and do your best to really collate a list in your area and locale, then that's a great starting point. So next, right, you've got your books, you've printed, maybe you've even done flyer, whatever you've done with your books, you have a little bag or you package it, and you're essentially packaging samples for the outlets, right? So you may decide that you want to send samples to all the outlets you found, the retailers you found, or you might have decided to, you know, pick based on what you think is a right fit for your book. You must drop samples. Nobody's going to accept your books without you dropping a sample. And along with that sample, you will have to write an introduction letter, introducing yourself, introducing the book, what it's about, and you need to list your recommended retail price. That's your RRP. Okay, pricing is important. Now, how do you get to your pricing? Well, you get to your pricing because you know how much it was to create your book, right? It's not only the cost of printing, right? It's also your time that was spent, the other expenses that you had. Maybe you had an editor, maybe you paid an illustrator. All those things come into the overall cost to produce a book. So you need to, taking all that cost in mind, know what the cost price of your book is in order to determine the recommended retail price. So for example, my books from the series cost approximately, after doing all my mathematics, about 550 naira per book to print, after doing, you know, the taking in everything into account. But they sell anything from 1,000 to 2,500, depending on the retailer and the outlet. I, in my letter, wrote the recommended retail price of 1,500 to 2,500. But the outlet will determine the price they want, and you will have to agree on the terms. Now, as per terms, there's two ways most book distributors or retailers work in terms of books. It's one, commission on sale. So that means you send them your books, they don't pay for them outright. As they sell them, then they remit, most will remit monthly or quarterly, usually monthly. And they will take a certain amount of commission. It's usually anything between 15 and 25%, again, depending on the outlet. So that's one, right? So they will receive the money, take their cuts, and send you your money once it's time for remittance. The other way is discounted upfront purchase. So you've agreed on the terms, and they say, okay, send us 20 of each book or 10 of each book, and they pay for those outright. Sorry, I don't know what is going on here. Yeah, and they pay for those outright. So that means, but they're paying them at a discounted rate. So again, you agree on the discount. This is different to the recommended retail price. Okay, so if the recommended retail price is 1,500, you might give them a discount of, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. It really has to be up to you. Generally, my discounted price does not go above 20%. And so then they will pay for those upfront with the discounted price, and that's the remittance. I prefer this way, but it's not always available because you get your money straight away. Yeah, so that covers, you know, figuring out your pricing, terms, and what you have to send to the retailers, to the outlets to consider your book. It's really, really important that you include with the samples that you drop off that letter, telling them what the book is about, how much it is, and just why it's important that your book gets to the case very long. With I have to let you know there will be pushback. So unfortunately, in Nigeria, we're still suffering from a very colonial mentality and poverty of the mind. And maybe some of you are familiar that last year I did a little campaign using my mobile phone, the video on it called #OurBooksMatter, because when I started realizing that I'd done these books, but okay, where was I going to sell them? When I go to places and see there weren't really that much, but of our Nigerian books out there. Meanwhile, I knew a lot of authors who are making great books. Why were our books not in all these places? So I started doing that physical legwork of actually going to outlets that I wanted my books in, or just I came across and that was selling children's books, and seeing what they had on the shelves. And I documented that and I shared it on social media, and I gave them a score out of 5. And what that did, it highlighted the need that we have, and also shamed those outlets, of which some now took on our books. So you cannot come into this with an attitude thinking somebody else is going to do this for you. This is a hard journey, but you have done half the work already with even creating the book. Now is to make sure that all that hard work doesn't go to waste, but you have to push, you have to bully, you have to make your presence known, you have to be that annoying person, and you will see the result. So a lot of the pushback you will get is, you know, someone will, I'm not going to name any names, but I really heard a lot of terrible things said that weren't said out of maliciousness, which makes it even worse. They were just said in a matter-of-fact way that this is how it is. So some of the things they would say would be like, oh, well, we don't carry local books, Nigerian books, we only carry imported books. Okay, why? Because Nigerian books aren't as good quality. Well, that's a lie. And I bring out my book. Or they'll say that, oh, their customers don't even consider children's books. Okay, but that's a chicken and the egg scenario. Are you even making it available for them to decide? Nope. Do you understand? So those are the kind of things you're going to hear. And those are the things that you will have to push back against. And just the fact that you have an existing book that you can refer to ACAIN, also for people to wake up, you have to also realize that retailers and outlets are quite lazy, or if they're not lazy, they're set in their ways of formatting. So if they've been using certain vendors for amounts of time, they'll keep using them until someone makes noise. And so ACAIN members or people on this workshop today, your job when you have your book and you want to get into the noise. Our books matter in knowing ourselves better. Our books matter in projecting our identity. Our books matter, they will make our future. Our books matter and should be prominent in the shops. Our books matter, keep talking about why. Our books matter, in no way should they be treated as second class. Our books matter, our pride in them starts with me today. So that's everybody's commission here. When somebody says to you why, those are a whole bunch of reasons that you can kick back with. Now, some of the pushback, you know, you will continue to get even after your books have been accepted in the bookstores, which is crazy, I know. So it's like you go over one hurdle, there's another hurdle. But the more of us that continue to champion our books, continue to overcome these obstacles, then those obstacles will no longer exist. So in your journey, you've got some bookstores to agree, which is awesome, well done. But then you go and check what is happening, and you can't even find your book in the shop, right? It's in like the back corner somewhere. I can't tell you how many times I've walked into an outlet, even those that don't carry my books, but are carrying Nigerian children's books. And I feel like pulling my hair out because I walk up in there and all I can see is, you know, Enid Blyton, Diary of a Woman. they say they sell our books, but they're not putting them for people to see them and therefore to purchase. So positioning is a huge factor in the success of the sale of your book. So you need to fight for that positioning constantly. So I will randomly show up at outlets and look where my book is, if it's fine, it's fine, and I will physically move my book selling at some places will make an issue of that, and I don't mind that confrontation, because then we can respectfully have that conversation that needs to be had, because your books need to be seen and you need to fight for that positioning and ensure. So the pictures I have, for example, the 2 different outlets, and you can see on one my books positioning, I had to books to random, show ups. And the funny thing is they end up thinking it's kind of funny, and they kind of like you for it, because they start to understand why it is so important. Some outlets will be more forgiving than others, but again, nobody can fight this but you, and you really must have that determination. Now, some other issues you'll have is, sorry, it's meant to be processing remittance, is getting paid, right? So getting paid is a major issue. So that's why I also prefer to have outlets that pay me up front, although I do work with outlets that pay me after they've taken their commission. Now you will find that when you start to communicate, you will get stories. So, right? Some of us kind of know the outlets to avoid, and some don't. So it's about having that discourse, finding out, okay, who are the ones with good reputations that pay and pay on time and won't be dragging and holding your money? Who are those that will work with you, who are flexible? And you need to, those things will organically happen as you go through the process, but you can shorten this process by, just networking within ACAIN. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram. You can ask these things on your own page and start generating discourse in the comments section, so you can really get that feedback you want. So the solution, I would say, to all these issues that you will face, and you will face them, I'm sorry, everybody here will face them, and everybody here who's in this journey has faced them, is to use the ACAIN community. The community is here and exists for a reason. Ask other authors, ask people in the community. And it doesn't mean that you don't go with an outlet that has a bad reputation. Because, for example, Ebano has a terrible reputation for remittance, but my experience has not been that. For me, they paid on time. In fact, they sell out my books quite fast. But it's for you to understand and then make an educated decision. The feedback from the community is not to make the decision for you. It's just for you to make the best decision for your journey. So here you can see, another wonderful book reading, and this location was one of the locations that I continue to fight with. But we had a great book reading. You can see one of our trustees there, Faloughi-Ekezie, and she has been a great mentor to me in this book journey. She has like 14 books published. I don't even know how she does that, and she's really plugged in. And that's an example of how I used the network to understand how to better. And so that is the overview. I am going to take some questions now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Cassie. Okay, Cassiana, have you collated these questions for me? Can you read them out? Because I'm not very good at reading the chat box.
Okay, no questions yet. So it would be nice if you just ask them to send in questions.
Okay, if anybody has any questions for me, please go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm very surprised there's no questions, unless I'm just so awesome that I just hit everything that everybody wanted to know. So let us see. We do have some fellow authors in here. Oh, okay, someone has asked. Okay. Is asking a really good question, and she's asking, how do you know stores have sold all the coins of you? Very good question. So when stores are remitting, they send you a spreadsheet. They send you receipts for payments, for the payment, but they also send you kind of a spreadsheet to show if you have multiple books like me, they will show, you know, what is in stock at that point of remittance. And so it's really, really easy to see how much stock, and usually they will not wait for it to run out before making payments. Oh, Chinere is trying to make choices. Have you had to pull your books from a store? Yes, very much so. And again, everybody will have to, or if I didn't pull them, I didn't restock them, because either they didn't remit, or they hold your money too long, or they don't communicate, and it's just too much work. You want to make that it doesn't become too overwhelming for you. You understand? Irene, for first-time authors, how do they initiate conversation with stores? Good one. Good one. All these troublemakers here today. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm like fanning and sweating. It's just, I'm old. That's what is going on. But so this is a really good question, right? You have to get over maybe just got to go that conversation, pick up conversations, send that email, initiate that conversation. If it's by email, you're doing the same introduction, and you are sharing your book, right? So if you're doing it by email, what you would say is, my name is blah, 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 and outlet carry my book titled blah, 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 which is about da, 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 da. Our recommended retail price is da, 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 and you know, I look forward to hearing back from you. And that's really what you would say by phone, by email. And if you want to do it physically, you know, you want to drop off your sample, you want to do some, it's important that conversation and send those samples into the stores. Yeah, so there's a lot of relationship building that needs to occur, okay? In everything, there's book author. I'm from the TV and film production space. Had no clue about this journey, but in my work, you have to know how to manage relationships. You have to know how to talk to people. You have to know how to engage. So relationship building is key because you're going to get a lot of negative statements, like I said earlier. So it's about changing people's perception about the importance of your books, and you need to impress on them the importance. It's not just about getting the books in the bookstores, right? You have to sell why. What's the why? Why should they? Why should they even consider this? And as I said, I gave you all that list on the hashtag Our Books Matter slide. And maybe this is something that, Kesiana, we can share on our page about the reasons why when people are going to, petition for their books to go into bookstores, the reasons that they can give, because you will find that there will be negative attitudes, but it's not just about your book. It's about a wider scenario and the importance of that, right? And you press on them, like, don't they have children, and it's important that the children see this, for a better them, for a better community, for a better Nigeria, all those kind of things go into play. Again, it keeps track of where the books are stocked, because those out send they remit, and if they have, they will still send you the monthly or quarterly register, will show that they have left of your. And if they've done that at any time, the owner of your books, at time you could ask them, especially for those who pay after sale as commission on sale, for the stock amount at any time, and they should give it to you. You have a right to do that. How long? Okay, Olubumi is asking, how long do stores take before they pay you? Generally, I think all the ones I work with, they pay on a monthly basis, which is great. So I know pretty much either I am the first week of each month, I'm getting remittance from the outlets that are carrying the books, which is I don't know all you troublemakers here today, Ulubu, which is my favorite store to work with and why. I would say I have a couple, actually. I have Bookworm Cafe. Farida owns Bookworm Cafe, and they do a really good job of selling my books, but they do a really good job of keeping a relationship open. Can reach out to her at any time. They always want me to come by there and do some kind of activity with the kids. I can't do that all the time, but I do my best. And it's really, really fun. So an outlet that engages with you. It's not just about putting your books on the shelf. Do they market your books? Do they post about your books? Do they tell people? Do they even love your book? To even get that feedback from them saying, oh my goodness, we absolutely love your book in store. And they will give you their reasons why, or they'll tell you how the children have been reviewing and loving your book. So a outlet that isn't just about, okay, we put on this shelf. Working with years, so for Book Cafe is Skits, which is a school kids store. Now remember, I said it's not always bookstores that sell children's books. School Kids is what it used to be called, but its new name is Skits. They shortened it. They do a fantastic job of selling my books. They're not so interactive as Bookworm, but I don't have any problem with them. They remit on time. My books are always prominent in their stores, and they do what they're meant to do. Other really good ones, I would say, are Book Peddlers. Ebano does a good job in positioning my books. In fact, I think they pretty much sold out. But they are really tedious to work with. And it's not because of the bookstore managers' attitudes. They're great. It's just the infrastructure of how Ebano is done. So you can't go to a central you know, part or central office and submit. And then they now disseminate that across their branches. You literally have to go branch by branch by branch and talk to each branch independently. And it's a really tedious process. But if you can make it through, they've done a good job of selling my books. Let me just check. Okay, there's Olajide. Hi, Olajide. You said, can you get books into UBEC deals via stores? I don't even know what UBEC is. What is UBEC? Olajide, can you unmute?
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
UBEC, Universal Basic Education. You know, they authorize books to go to secondary schools and like primary schools, basically. I'm not sure secondary schools.
Okay. So that's a completely different format. You have to go through. Yeah. Something, but today that's actually something I am learning myself right now. But a key way to start is start with the schools that your children go to and the schools that you know, and just approach them directly. Which is what I've done with some schools who use my books, but my books had to go through an approval process at that school. But obviously, it's better to go to a higher body which disseminates these things across schools. So I'm not so competent on that right now. That's a journey I'm actually on, and it's something I think we should look into at ACAIN. So yes, the things about remittance. So a general theme I'm saying is that what they sold, they don't remit. How do you get your money? Some, you won't get your money. So this is the thing, you really have to do your due diligence and know that if you know they're not going to pay you back, then you're just not going to associate with that bookstore again. Okay, so Faloughi asks about getting books stocked nationally. Well, currently, my books are stocked in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, Akwa Ibom. I think that is it. To be honest, I think that is it. Again, you have to do your research and what happened also is with the COVID lockdown and that 18 months, a lot of bookstores in the wider in the country, in other states, actually shut down. So a couple of them that were stocking my books no longer exist. But it's the same. You can just call them, talk to them, send them your books, and it works exactly the same way. You have the job of promoting your books. However, you do need to have that conversation with the bookstores as well to promote your books in their stores. So you can organize book readings, you can organize a signing, but again, ask them to keep your books where people can see them, right? Or perhaps you encourage them to do a Nigerian Author Day or something like that. So don't just assume that the store will do promotion. Some do automatically as part of the nature of the way they work, but a majority will not unless you engage them. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through. So creating awareness about your book, again, you have to, it depends how much time you have. Some of you will be working full time, and this is a love, this is a hobby that you're growing in. So that you're limited in the amount of time that you can do extra events. But I would say plug into events that are children orientated, family orientated, pop-ups that focus in those areas are great to be involved in. Don't just do any pop-up and don't just do any events, because you might just go there and waste your time and not do any sales and not do anything that's really relevant. Pick events and promotions that work for the user, right? For the age group and the market base for your book. Right, so again, how can membership of ACAIN be used as a confidence tool for the stores in terms of justifying our trade? Very good question. And again, this is something we're building, and our focus is with ACAIN that hopefully something we can implement this year is that you can have an approved by ACAIN sticker or something like that on your book. We are working through understanding how we can make this work, and understanding this is something to help boost confidence of our members, but mostly confidence of outlets out there to understand that anybody coming from ACAIN, it has a certain standard of quality, right? We do not go below a minimum standard, and therefore any outlets accepting an ACAIN member's book is accepting a book of quality and a book of meaning and a book that will help expand their customer base as well. So having that ACAIN membership will definitely help in boosting your book.